Hello and welcome to the RevOps Show. This episode gets into a term that we've all heard about and are still talking about and will not stop talking about, go-to-market strategy. According to Roger Martin, go-to-market strategy is the sexiest business term in 2023, so why not talk about it? Doug and Jess discuss what go-to-market strategy is, how to build your strategy, and they dive into the 5 questions that you should be asking yourself about your go-to-market strategy. So without further ado, let's get into the RevOps Show.
What's going on, Jess?
Hey, Doug.
What's the word, Jess?
The bird is the word.
Everyone knows that the bird. You know what? I got to get that that's missing on the soundboard.
That is, oh God. I'm gonna regret saying that to you as regularly as I do now.
That is absolutely missing on the soundboard. Here's where I am, Jess.
Oh, wow. I don't know how to respond to that.
I've got my soundbite deck. I've got my mixing board now.
Yeah.
We are
I'm feeling
the
audio
visual of these shows are just gonna. We are turned up. We're up leveling. We're leveling up.
Sorry, hang on. Did you just use the term "turnt" with a T, not an E, not an ED? Oh, Doug.
It's spelled TURNT. We're turned up.
Okay. I'm gonna need you to stop.
we are raising our game. We're taking things to another level.
Wow. I was gonna say, I'm feeling a way about you getting all this new equipment.
I've cleaned my desk off. I've done some reorganization so that you are
way too excited about this. You're way too excited.
You know, Jess, the thing is, from a very, very early age, a new AV toy to play with has always been like
I know. I remember when you got your soundboard. I remember. You were excited.
Well,
you were excited.
You know, I don't only have it. This is the second version of my soundboard. Because remember, my first soundboard only had a 3x3 matrix.
I remember, and that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough sounds for you.
4s. This is 8x4.
Lucky us. Oh my God.
You know what the rules are, Jess?
First rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. Second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
Yep.
That is what I'm talking about.
There we go. Off to a great start. A great focused start today. We're recording on a Tuesday. I don't know that we've ever recorded on a Tuesday before, Doug.
Well, isn't this second Tuesday?
This is second Tuesday. It's true.
I mean, technically speaking, this is second Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Accurate.
For those of you that, I think we talked about it in an earlier episode several years ago, we decided to get rid of Mondays.
There is no Monday. There is only first Tuesday and second Tuesday.
And by the way, you know what? People would make fun of us, I bet. I bet you people probably hear that and go, that's just ridiculous. That's just stupid. But did things get better, or did they not get better, or did they stay the same since we eliminated Mondays?
They got better.
They got better. They got much better.
They did. It's all about mentality.
What do you mean mentality?
It's all about your mentality to how you approach the week.
I don't understand.
I'm much more positive.
You physically got rid of Monday. I don't understand what mentality means.
Oh my dear God. Yep. Okay. Yes, Doug. I physically got rid of. We physically got rid of Mondays. Yes.
This is very confusing to me. Let me try to recenter.
Oh my God.
Let me try to refocus. So we're recording twice this week?
We're going to attempt to record twice this week. We have not recorded twice this week, so I don't want to.
And then we should record next week.
And then we'll record next week.
Now we're in the midst of our best of series.
We are.
But so we've got today plus tentatively 2 more episodes.
Correct.
Before inbound.
Before inbound.
So, when we got back from inbound last year,
mm-hmm.
you and I agreed that we should have recorded an episode while we were at inbound.
Did we agree to that?
We did.
I don't. Okay. All right.
So, the problem to record an episode while we're there is there's a lot going on. We're talking to a lot of people.
Yep.
Maybe you break away. So I have it figured out.
Doug's going to put me on the spot. Go ahead.
Friday morning from 1 to 2 a.m.
Oh my God. We're not doing that.
In the lobby of the Westin.
Did we talk about this last year? The fact that you made it so I wouldn't sleep at all because I left it.
I made it.
Yeah, it was your fault.
I think
it was a challenge that you had in your head that you felt the need to fulfill, and you won.
I think you said something about I'm going to bed early Thursday night because I have an early flight Friday. What time was your flight?
My flight was
like
at 6. Yeah.
6, okay.
Yeah, it was at 6.
And I think I said, well, with a flight at 6, wouldn't it be easier just not to go to sleep at inbound? And you said, no way. That is not going to happen.
And then there we were at 3 a.m. in the lobby of the Westin. And I had a decision to make of what do I go to sleep and chance sleeping through my alarm, or do I just stay awake for the next 2 hours?
Well, no, I think what actually happened was you said, wait, I still need to pack.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm tired thinking about it right now.
It's funny you say that because I was thinking about it over the weekend and I got tired thinking about it.
Well, so I think you were the real loser in this scenario.
Because I was, by far.
I got on a plane, and I can't sleep on planes. Like, this was the other thing. Like, so I didn't sleep.
But you did fall asleep on that flight because you were that tired, did you not?
No, I did not. I
Wow.
cannot sleep on airplanes. But I got home and took a coma for like 10 hours, which was middle of the day. You, however, were up till 3 a.m. and then had a full day of inbound, if I'm not mistaken, on Friday.
Oh, I overslept.
Oh, that's
which
right.
I think is not a thing. And then I remember we went out to lunch with a couple reps. I was like, I could barely stand. It was so, I was so hurting. So this year we're not leaving till like our flight out. It's not till like 4:00.
Oh my God.
So our choice was noon or 4, and Drew wants, there's a couple sessions he wants to go to.
Yeah.
I actually thought about telling him just go back on your own. Because I don't know how I'm going to make it till 4:00. I really don't.
Hang out at the lobby of the Westin. I'm leaving in the morning, but I don't think my flight's as early. I think I have an 8 a.m. flight this time, not a 6 a.m. flight.
Well, yeah, and that's like the other thing too. That's just an absolute. Maybe it won't be as bad this year because remember they had Barack Obama as the last session.
Was that last
year? We couldn't even use Skyway. Yeah, remember we couldn't use the Skyway.
That's right.
Right, but so like everybody had their bags.
They didn't do bag check. Okay.
No, they didn't do bag check at BCEC.
Right.
So like you had to wait I think we had to wait in like a 40-minute line.
Okay.
And so like we didn't stay for Barack for 2 reasons.
I remember.
It was like, theoretically we would have made our flight, but I was like, this ain't happening. Yeah, that was hard. And of course all our young team members, they had long since Now, I remember George was with us for much of it. Did he stay? Was he with us till the end, or was
not till the end, but almost? George, I think George was there till like 1. I think George tapped out at 1, and I think at that point in my mind, I had passed the point of it's like a judgment call. Do you go to sleep and chance?
And then, I don't think you could have. I mean, what would the point of going to sleep?
I would have gone to sleep for like 2 hours,
less than an hour.
Yeah, by the time I packed and everything, yeah.
I remember Ashley was trying to stay up, and she finally said, "You know what? I got to go to bed." She was trying. She didn't want to miss anything. So
I know.
All righty. So how about that? That's our pre-inbound conversation.
So we are not recording an inbound on Thursday night
we
at
are.
1 a.m. Just to recap.
Oh, sorry. So at 2 a.m.
Oh my God. Okay. Today I want to talk about go-to-market strategy.
Go to market.
What is it? Why is it? Why is it important? So let's. Oh, go ahead.
So you know
I do.
that one of my favorite thinkers on strategy, one of my favorite authors is Roger Martin.
Yep.
Wrote the book Design a Business. Wrote the book Play to Win.
Yep.
Was the dean at Rotman School of Business, which is University of Toronto. He writes a series of articles on a regular basis on Medium. Here's his latest title: "The Downside of Go-to-Market Strategy. Sounds sexy, but not helpful." That's the article title. Sexiest business terms in 2023 from Roger Martin. Are you ready? Top 5 sexiest business terms in 2023. Ready?
Yep.
Go-to-market strategy.
Number
Sales
1.
motion. DevOps. He had a funny line. It's like, apparently they forget it's just operations. Data analytics and AI scientist.
Oh, you knew AI was going to be in there.
Here's what he says about go-to-market strategy. I share this because we should, as we're going to talk about go-to-market strategy. Peak hype, right? Go-to-market strategy is one of those business terms that has become super sexy. I find it interesting how the phenomenon works. Somebody stumbles onto an evocative term to describe a business activity that has gone on forever, and the thing suddenly becomes super cool. Companies have been going to their markets forever. But go-to-market strategy sounds exciting and new, and it is action-oriented, involving going from here to market. It is practical sounding, simple words, and good ones like go and market. Business people love it, especially in technology companies. With that as a precursor, Jess, let's talk about go-to-market strategy.
Okay. So
Where do you want to start?
let's start with, how would you define go-to-market strategy?
How would I define go-to-market strategy?
Yep.
Let's see how my friend Roger Martin defines go-to-market strategy. What is go-to-market strategy? A company's so this is according to Jargonism.
According to Jargonism?
Jargonism.
Jargonism. Okay.
Jargonism.com.
Okay.
A company's strategy on how to sell their product or service. This includes the decision between using a sales force or a self-serve sales process, which is where the buyer can buy the company's product without ever interacting with a sales rep from the company, or product-led growth. Here's how Gartner defines. A go-to-market strategy is a plan that details how an organization can engage with customers to convince them to buy their product or service and to gain a competitive advantage. A go-to-market strategy includes tactics related to pricing, sales, and channels, the buying journey, new product or service launches, product rebranding, or product introduction to a new market. I think both those definitions suck. I love what Martin says. He says clearly the Gartner folks have not listened to my plan is not a strategy video. I think that, you know, when we ask the question, when you ask the question, what is go-to-market strategy? This is actually a place where I'm not a huge fan in defining the I'm not a huge fan in the I think it's really hard to define strategy. We talked about it many times.
Right.
So what is go-to-market strategy? Go-to-market strategy is strategy, and it's the component that relates to how you're going to market. Now, I'm having a little fun here. One of the things that I've believed in for a very long time, I remember, was a Jim Rohnism. To beware of people who tell you they manufacture antiques. And so, it's funny because back in the early 2000s, I talked about go-to-market strategy and I talked about go-to-market, and a lot of people weren't talking about it. And the term go-to-market kind of disappeared, and it's since come back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, what's old is new again. What is go-to-market strategy? It's the choices that you make that enable you to win on the path that you're on. So I'll give you a little quote here a little framework from from Roger Martin, and then what I'll share is what I think go-to-market strategy is basically how you answer 5 questions, and then how you put that into real life action and evolve from that.
Okay.
But, this is what Martin calls the strategy choice cascade. What is your winning aspiration? So what is winning? And remember, we're playing an infinite game. We're not playing a finite game.
Yep.
Where do you play? How do you win? What are your must-have capabilities? And what are what he refers to as enabling management systems? How do you enable, how do you play to your strengths? How do you set up your organization to play to your strengths and to mitigate your weaknesses? And they feed into and on each other. Now, for me, the way that I've approached it, and this has been on our website for a long time. I think I would probably update it. But I'm just going to share how I'll stand behind it still. So here's the 5 questions that I think are part of what you need to be able to answer to have to say that here's our go-to-market strategy. What is our business model and how can we best exploit it? Who do we want to be a hero to? Providing a clear definition of your ideal client profile, target personas, and jobs to be done. So I want to reemphasize that the single most important question a business can answer, and as a matter of fact, if a business can only answer one question, the question it needs to answer is, who do you want to be a hero to? Who do you exist to be a hero to? Who are you absolutely indispensable for? Third question, how does our value proposition stand out and resonate with our customers while distinguishing us from competitive and alternative options? How will we position ourselves in our selected markets to achieve the right message market fit that resonates with our target market and stimulates meaningful conversations? And how will we profitably acquire and retain customers and revenue? Those are the 5 questions that, how you answer those questions, then the guiding policy that's created. So I think the answers to those questions gives you a diagnosis of your go-to-market, also provides the guiding policy for the actions that you take that feed into that. How does that evolve? That is go-to-market strategy.
Okay.
So it really is it is strategy. I actually had I'm not going to say who this time, but I had, because, there are a lot of marketing agencies, a lot of sales agencies where, and they talk about themselves as being strategic. And, and I go, well, who do you work with? Well, we work with the CMO. Like, okay, who do you work with above the CMO? No, we work with the CMO. We're as high as you can get. No, you're not as high as you can get. Right. The strategy is set by the senior team.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So if you're not understanding that, then that's not strategic. And you know what? That's okay. You don't have to be strategic. But this whole aspect of, let's use the word strategic because it sounds more valuable. By the way, here's another thing about strategy as it relates to execution and tactics. Because it's strategic, it's not tactical. Because strategic is valuable and tactical is not valuable. But you know what's interesting about that?
What?
Which is responsible for generating actual cash flow? Strategy or tactics?
Tactics.
Yeah. Tactics generate cash flow.
Yeah.
You know how much cash flow strategy generates?
0.
Right? What strategy does is it protects cash flow.
What do you mean by that? How does strategy protect?
Did you ever have a Nokia phone?
I did.
Do you know at one time that phone was amazing?
I remember.
Like when you were in high school.
Yep.
Could you have even imagined a Nokia phone?
So I was in high school when I had a Nokia phone.
Okay. When I was in high school, could you have even imagined anything? Right? I mean, so what happens over time is that it's the commoditization cliff, right? Everything gets commoditized over time.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so what strategy does is strategy continues to provide distinction and value so that why will you keep buying from it?
Right. So how do you take this and put it into actual real world execution? Like, how do I? So
that's the second. I'm glad you asked that question because I actually stopped halfway through my explanation that we talk about, there's strategy, would you rather have good strategy or good execution? And the difficulty with that is The moment you say that, you don't understand strategy. There is no strategy without execution.
Right.
You might have a plan without execution, right? But strategy is execution. Execution is strategy, right? It's like what we talk about with playbooks, right? You have a playbook.
Yeah.
You have a playbook. Whether you realize it or not, you have a playbook. You have an MO. You have a way of doing things, right? We've talked about this a little bit with systems and system design. Like your system is perfectly designed to yield the results that you're experiencing, right? So if you want to change the results you're experiencing, you need to change your system.
Yep.
Right. Your strategy is your execution. Now, your execution may not look like your plan, but your plan's not your strategy.
Right. Right.
So if you say, would you rather have someone who has good strategy or good execution? If I have good strategy, then I might be doing the wrong things today. I mean, that's what you're saying is do you want someone with good strategy doing the wrong things today? Or someone with bad or without strategy doing the right things today? And that's a really easy question to answer. I want the right strategy because if I have the right strategy, the execution will adjust, right? Whereas if I have the right execution, theoretically, then I'm just lucky, right? So how do you put it into action? Like I don't know. How do you breathe?
You just do.
How did you learn how to walk? Did you get up and just walk? I mean, you probably did.
Yes, obviously. No, you fall down.
Well, you know what you do before you fall down?
You figure out how to pull up.
You wobble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you put strategy in motion? How do you put it in execution? How do you apply it? You wobble, right? You answer the question.
Yeah.
Right? You answer the questions. You act, right? It goes like it. Maybe I'm just too simple of a person, right? Because it all kind of comes back into the same 2 to 4 or 5 frameworks or processes, right? You make some decisions, you take action, you get a result, you learn, you apply it to your next set of decisions, you take actions in alignment with that, or as best you can with an alignment in that, and you move forward. Think about what our experience over the last 5 years has been. We've gone through the last 5 years truly a strategic transformation.
Yep.
And I would say that it's been a little bit messy.
A little bit.
What was it? 2 weeks ago, we articulated fully in one session, and it looked and sounded beautiful.
Yep.
Right. The feedback that we've gotten is right. Now, I'm already seeing the way that we've talked about it and the way that it's being interpreted. Not quite. Right.
Yep.
So, right. We're, you know what? We are absolutely in the wobbling stage right now.
Right.
But we're clear to our intent. We have systems in place to inform execution. By the way, I'm getting asked a lot of questions. Should we do this or should we do that? And my answer is, I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem overtly stupid. It doesn't seem criminal. It doesn't seem like it will knock us back 3 levels.
Yep.
Let's find out. Because you know what? If somebody knew what to do, we wouldn't need strategy. Right. So strategy is the process of how do you make trade-offs. And the way you make trade-offs is action. By the way, decisions, like to me, decision without action is not a decision.
Yeah.
Right. But I can understand someone makes a decision, they haven't taken action. I mean, we talk about coachability. Coachability is do you adjust?
Right.
Right. If you have all the intent, like I was not a very coachable baseball player.
Really?
Yeah. Now, for 2 reasons. One was, especially when I was younger. I mean, the number one reason was I lacked talent. Right. And by the way, in case you haven't noticed this, if you're doing something and you don't have talent for it, you're not going to be very coachable.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So part of my problem was I did not have the mind-body connection to make my arms or hands do what I wanted them to do. So even when I was willing to be coached, even when I was open to being coached, I wasn't very coachable because, I mean, I tried really hard. And I mean, candidly, on the teams that I was on, probably the only thing that kept me on the teams was that, hey, if I had everybody, I mean, I wasn't quite Rudy Rudiger. Okay, I was nowhere close to Rudy Rudiger on effort, but you know, the effort is what kept me down. Now, by the way, the second reason, especially when it came to baseball, is that far too often, especially when I was younger, I was pretty sure that I knew more than they did, so I didn't necessarily listen to them. I like to think I've matured over the years.
I don't know about that.
So I think that like I don't remember what your question was, but that's kind of what this show is about, isn't it? You ask the question,
and you go off on
it, and then
I
completely forget
a totally different. So I asked, how do you do this in real life? How do you translate this to real world? Like, how do you actually execute on it? And your response was, answer the questions, do the things. How do you breathe?
Yeah, you start off with WAGs.
Yeah.
You know what WAGs are, right?
Wild ass guesses.
Mm-hmm. Then you begin to learn a little bit, and WAGs become SWAGs.
Scientific wild ass guesses.
Right. And all a swag is a wild ass guess with a hypothesis, with a reasonable hypothesis. You know, I hate to give Zig Ziglar credit for this, but I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, you know, what are you willing to do poorly so that you can do it well?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's born with strategy. Now, what's interesting is humans are very strategic creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you think about it, this is where, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a group. The complexity is being able to sustain it and translate and to scale.
So the group component brings me to another question I had, which is, you know, how often should you be talking about your go-to-market strategy? How often should you be reworking or iterating on it? Like how frequently should these conversations be happening? How much should you be really looking at this with a critical?
It's an interesting question because it has two answers that are diametrically opposed. You're always working on it.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a complex ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
What we changes everything that comes after it and before it. Plus everything else is changing.
Right.
So you're always tweaking it. You're always taking a critical viewpoint to it. That you know, the problem is, like, we're not the people to go to. This is not the show to listen to if you want reductive maxims. Break things fast. You know, I believe in break things fast. I believe in ship fast. Right.
Yep.
Except then we've got a 50-cent O-ring on that seals the fuel on the space shuttle, that someone goes, we got to go. You got to ship. Right. It's the same mindset. So again, it's not like that Facebook was wrong for that mantra. It's that Facebook took it too far. So you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
Consider what's the best shot. Like, they're both true. So I think that you should very rarely be talking about your strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you're talking about your strategy, what you're doing, and I want you to hold me on this. I want you to listen to what I'm saying from a critical viewpoint here on. I think I practice this, but if I don't, I want to get into practicing this. Mm-hmm. I think when you're talking about, like, when the team goes, when the leader goes, our strategy is.
Yeah.
Right. You need to understand that's not our go-to-market strategy. Right.
Yep.
That's all about ego.
Mm-hmm.
That is self-flatulation.
Yep.
What should you be talking about? Who do we want to be a hero to all the time?
Yep.
Right. So I'm not talking about the strategy all the time. I'm talking about our answers to the questions all the time.
So it's fascinating that that's one of the questions. Like, we've talked through those 5 questions. Obviously, I didn't know you were going to go quite there, but I probably think literally the question, who do we want to be a hero to, at least on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis. Like that question is in the back of my mind. And I think to your point about strategy and execution being connected, like one place where we really started to get in our groove and grow and build out our team, I think is where that strategy got communicated to the right team members who could then execute on and feedback loop into, and then the strategy improves and then the execution improves. And I think that's the place where it doesn't get talked about enough, because everybody has this want to be a strategist. Everybody has this drive to want to dictate the strategy, but we don't think about the execution feeding into that when we're talking about these things.
You know, when I was young, someone got me a mug. It said, "What I want is all of the authority with none of the responsibility."
It's my goal every day,
What
Doug.
does that? What does that mean that someone got me that when I was young? Alrighty, anyways. I think that's what we talk about. I think that's when we say everybody wants to be a strategist, I think it's the same thing, because I don't actually believe everybody wants to be a strategist, because you see what happens when they're in the strategist role or when they're in the strategist mode. Like, being a strategist is hard, because how would you feel if you lived in a world where there were no right decisions?
Yep.
How would you feel if 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, except once every 4 years, where you got an extra day bonus of having no idea if you were right or wrong, or no idea if you were right? You might have idea that you're wrong. If you're wrong, you're disqualified and fired. So you're either fired or you don't know that you're right. And by the way, the fact that my strategy, which I don't even understand the idea of my strategy, is right, because that infers that it's static.
Yeah.
Right. But at any moment that your strategy is working,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
it's like a baseball swing. It takes hours and thousands of repetitions to get your swing anywhere close to where you want it to be. It takes a moment to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think people say they want to be strategists, or they're striving to be strategists because they want to make the decision. Right. They want to be the decider. But then they also don't necessarily want to live with the consequences of that decide, right? It's that pursuit of certainty that comes in. The thing that's interesting, if you take a look at our history, and I think we're a fairly good history because we're totally bootstrapped.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the pioneer side of what's going on. So like, there's a whole bunch of things that said we chose to play a hard game.
Yep.
But I got into it with Pete about verticals and verticals versus horizontals, etc. And I said, look, I totally get verticals an easier game to play typically.
Yep.
We chose a horizontal game, which in choosing that game, there was much less margin for error. Here's what I understood, right? Because we're a small company, because it was funded by me, because I was in the lead role, because all those things, right? I'm not built to win the simple game.
Right.
Right. Our costs will be too high to play the simple game.
Yeah.
Right. And candidly, once it's known and it's all about exploit,
Mm-hmm.
We're building our team to be able to support more and more of it. But if that's what you're looking for, then, that's why we talk about no man's land. When you're on the other side of no man's land, it's okay that you're going to go work with somebody else. Cause there's if that's what you're focused on, if that's what your compelling issue is, then, that's not what we live, eat, breathe, think, etc. So when you look at those decisions that we made, one of the things that we've always suffered from is we've never had the resources that we needed. And you're probably the only person that's been here long enough to remember this, that we didn't build it linearly.
Right.
The number one thing that I would always get pushback on from peers and others was about, these things aren't connected. You're trying to do too many things. And then I remember because you were one of the people who actually came and said to me when they started connecting, okay, this was one of the things, I don't think you used these words exactly, that you took on faith. Like you believed that they would connect.
Yeah.
Because we had talked about it and you had trust in me. Right. But I remember you said, I knew they would connect. I didn't know where or when they connect. It's pretty fascinating to see that they're connecting. Right.
Yep.
The other thing was like when we presented the strategy last week, and even if you think about how we've gone through over the last, the 3 months before that, as it was really getting articulated.
Yep.
There was nothing new. It was all stuff that we'd been talking about. And then the single funnest thing.
The single funnest
thing. And I don't know, you didn't have a viewpoint of it. I did, as I was presenting it to the team, was the graphic of growth barrier, repeatable sales and marketing, or ceiling of complexity, right? Demand creator, right? That was created 16 years ago.
Yep.
And it's like we wouldn't create something that simple anymore, which, by the way, kind of cracks me up. It's part of my issue with graphic design in general. But we wouldn't create something that simple. But when you saw it, and you saw it before we presented it, obviously, but like that nails us. Like that nails, like that's the napkin drawing.
Yeah, I mean,
by the way, that was the exercise where that came from. It was called the napkin drawing.
Yeah, so I think I saw it probably 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, framed up the same way, by the way. Hey, and that might have even been the point where I realized, okay, this is where we're going. But yeah, it is kind of fascinating that's been.
And so for all this change, right?
Yep.
I probably, actually, I don't think it would have been, I don't regret this. I don't think I would do it differently. It would be easy to call it differently. It's only in the last 6 months that we were at the point where we could say, okay, we're on the other side of the transformation, right? All these things we were talking about, the place where, and one reason why I think, some of the stuff we're seeing from our team in the last 2 weeks is the dots got connected, and now it's a strategy.
Yep.
Right. But we wouldn't have been there if we had been talking about it as, okay, what's the strategy? What's the strategy? Because when you talk about it as what's the strategy, the manifestation of it is always what's the plan.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the problem with the plan is no plan stands up to the complexity and speed of life.
Absolutely.
And that's why the quote, the Eisenhower quote, at least that's who I've seen it attributed to. Oh, that was the first attribution that I saw of plans are useless. Planning is essential. So I'm a huge fan of planning, right?
Yep.
But the strategy is not the plan.
Yep.
Right. And if we can articulate the answer to these 5 questions, right, that creates the center point. That creates the North Star that enables you to align your vectors. That provides the point of view that each individual can unlock their genius, right? That becomes the playing field.
Yep.
That each individual can begin to unlock their genius to interpret the situation their way, right? And it takes years and hours and thousands of iterations to get it to the point where it has clarity. And it takes a moment to lose it.
Absolutely.
And so I think as we get bigger, which means we get more complex, I think that my job, the CEO's job, the senior team's job is to be maniacal about what that is and to be intolerant of misunderstanding, right? And it's not because we're trying to beat you up. It's because it only takes a small fracture for this to be interpreted 3 degrees out. And now you're back to being all over the place.
Well, and so to that point, this actually happened in a very specific way for me recently with one of the clients that we're on. We were not in a good place. we had dropped the ball on a few things. We were totally on our heels. And I was really operating in a place of, okay, well, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to bring this up. I don't want to do this. And I remember you said to me, Jess, we got to play our game. We can't play our game, because what I'm going to guarantee you is if we don't do that, we're going to lose them. We might lose them if we play our game, but if we don't play our game, we're going to lose them. And that was 6 months ago. We are now in a place where we've completely turned it around. And I see, hindsight, benefit of hindsight. Yeah, that was the right decision. That made sense. And and had we not had a clear go-to-market strategy, I don't know that would have been as clear to me.
Yeah. And, you've seen it. We've lost clients playing our game. We've lost clients not playing our game.
Yeah, and losing clients playing
Losing
our game
clients
so
not
much
playing
better.
our game sucks.
Yeah.
Losing clients when we play our game, I don't like it. Although, one of the things that's going to happen is we're going to lose some clients playing our game right now because our game has changed.
Yep.
Right. And I'm not going to like it, but I have to understand it. Right. That's, I always say one of the big issues with strategy is, and it's why I hate plans, or I don't hate plans, because I told you earlier, I love plans, but calling plan strategy is it's really easy to articulate your intent.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what I see is people like this is where strategy is different from vision. And actually, if you look at a lot of the questions,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of questions that we did here on prep, if you think about it, if you were to replace strategy with vision,
Yeah.
those questions make sense. How do you translate your vision into action?
Right.
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 By the way, you know how to translate your vision into action?
How?
Strategy.
Okay.
Right. Because
Right.
again,
Yeah. No.
strategy is action.
Yeah.
Strategy is action. Right.
Right.
And so the aspects of vision is I put 1 foot firmly on the property of where I want to be. And you know what that gets you? Nothing.
Nowhere.
You know what gets you somewhere? When you take the other foot out of where you were.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, right? I mean, I'm going to be completely clear with everybody listening to this. We're updating elements of our website based on the decisions that we've made. And there's a couple things I'm like, okay. Right. Cause some of the decisions that we're making, they're going to cost us something. We're going to lose.
Yeah.
Right. And this is probably, this is the biggest strategic transformation that we've made. This is probably the third transformation that we've made. So we're always working on it.
Yep.
But I think at the core of your strategy is, what is your value proposition? What is the problem you solve? Who is it for? So what has happened for us in the last 3 years is the answer to the question of who do we want to be a hero to has transformed. It hasn't just changed, it's transformed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
We still love the people that we were a hero to 3 years ago. We care about them. I think we're highly valuable to them. I think in most cases, we're the best choice for them. We know it better than anybody else, but that is not who we are a hero to. And by the way, over the next 2 to 3 years, I can't promise you that we'll still be the best choice, because I'm not thinking we're not thinking about that every day. That's not what's driving all of those things. And so when you change your who, you change your company. So when you say, how often should your strategy change? Well, your strategy is always changing. How frequently should you go through a strategic transformation or strategy transformation? I'm pretty sure there are companies that have never, I'm pretty sure that there are companies that have been around for a very long time that have never gone through a strategy transformation, at least from the point that they got to, maybe when they were super small or something like that, it would have changed. But I mean, I would say if it changes more than, I don't know. If it's changing more than 5 years, that's way too frequent.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we think, again, because we think of strategy as plan, one of the issues about that is it becomes really constraining. I have no idea where we're going to be 5 years from now.
Yep.
Right. I know what we'll be doing,
Right.
right? We'll be identifying the areas of friction that prevent buyers and sellers from being able to communicate and get along and understand each other.
Yep. I agree. Totally agree. One comment before I go to takeaways on the transformation of who we want to be a hero to, and kind of the churn of we're by playing our game, sometimes we lose clients. That also happens faster, and I mean that in a good way. Like, we're not getting pulled down by clients that aren't a fit as much anymore as we've gotten clearer and clearer on this. So that is one benefit of us kind of continually iterating on this, talking about this, working on it. Okay, so a couple of takeaways that I have. So I really like the definition for go-to-market strategy of it's the choices that you make that enable you to win. I didn't think about connecting choices to but it really is. And then the fact that it's not stagnant, and that strategy feeds execution, which then feeds strategy, which then feeds execution, which then continues to feed your strategy.
Yeah. So I don't want to be, I don't mean to pick on it semantically, but I don't think that strategy feeds execution.
You think they're the same thing?
I think strategy is execution. I think
Right.
execution is strategy. I think that the hypothesis feeds the action, feeds the result, feeds the learning, which feeds the hypothesis.
Okay. Right. Okay. Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Because choice is the action that you take. So if we choose to focus on market A instead of market B, but we continually, because we came from market B, continually to make concessions to market B, because then the choice we made was not to choose market A over market B. Like,
Yep.
the plan may have been, but the choice was not. The choice is the action. And so again, if your strategy, like, if you want to know what your strategy is, don't show me your plan. Look at your actions. Look at the decisions that are being made on a daily basis. Then what you do is compare, like, a value of a strategic document, a strategic plan is, it's a statement of intent. It's kind of like values. I feel the same way about values, right? Don't tell me what your values are.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha.
I can see what your values are.
Right. Yep.
Now, why do we state our values? Well, it's a signal, right? It's a social signal.
Yep.
It's a way to say, hey, who wants to be part of this? It's also a way for us to state our intent and then say, okay, are we living in alignment with what we say we want to be living with? Right?
Yep.
So strategy is the same thing as well. These are the like the plan. These are the choices we want to be making. Now let's take a look at what are the choices that we are making.
Yep.
How close, how similar are those two things, right? But make no mistake, your strategy is whatever's actually happening on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. That is your strategy, right? Now, if you don't articulate this, and we were in a place where we didn't have enough clarity to clearly communicate to that, so we knew that was, that added to a little bit of bumpiness, right?
Yeah.
Then we got clear, and I just had to loosen my collar a little bit, which again, being the person that advocated the focus,
right?
I was like, okay, this is really good as a vision, right?
Yep.
It's like, I want to have a salad for lunch today. And so, like, if you don't have those 5 choices, but I will say this about strategy from a mindset standpoint. Strategy from a mindset standpoint is an upstream mindset.
Yep.
Right. So strategy is thinking in systems, not in tech, not in applications. That's a piece of a system. It's thinking in complex systems. Right. And that's why you're always working on it. But again, I think businesses would do better to make better choices, to more clearly articulate their choices, to communicate those choices, to embody those choices in playbooks
Yep.
and processes
Yep.
and methodologies, and spend less time talking about strategy.
Agreed.
And more time talking about the choices and how are we making those choices and what's leading to those actions. And I think that is what will, like, you ever hear you're watching a football game and they say they're a second half team.
Yeah.
Right. What that means is they go into the locker room at halftime. They look at what happened in the first, and they have a framework to go, okay, here's what we saw. Here's what we learned. Right.
Adjustments.
You know how I say, is the juice worth a squeeze here?
Mm-hmm.
You know how I've said that before.
Yeah.
When I coached baseball, probably more than the juice is worth a squeeze to what I say today was, did you make an adjustment? Or if you really want to, like, if you wanted to know what Doug Davidoff was saying in a game that mattered while he was in the dugout and everyone else and no one else was around him, what was he saying? He was saying, will you make a fucking adjustment? Right. And that's what strategy does. That's what a clearly articulated strategy does. That's what clearly articulating these choices do, is they enable people to make the adjustments that need to be made. And so it's crucially important. And, you know, the last question that you didn't ask is go-to-market strategy important for everyone? This is where we're going to go full loop on this, right?
Uh-huh.
Everybody goes to market. If you're a business and you've generated $1 of revenue, you go to market. Whatever it is you're doing to get that $1 of revenue, that is your go-to-market strategy. So go-to-market strategy is only important if breathing is important to humans. Right? Because if you're doing anything, my favorite bad quote, hope is not a strategy.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
It's wrong. That is a factually incorrect strategy.
Statement.
I'm sorry, that is a factually incorrect statement. Correct. That is a factually incorrect statement. Hope is a strategy. As a matter of fact, hope is probably the most common strategy out there. It's just not a very good one. As a matter of fact, I'll go so far as to say it's a bad one.
Yeah.
Right. And that's my take on go-to-market strategy.
And that's a great way to wrap us up.
By the way, it's a great example of why listeners to this episode, listeners of this podcast, the top RevOps podcast on Spotify, according to our data, it is why you need to remember, just say no to shitty RevOps.
Until next time, everybody.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the RevOps Show. Everyone goes to market and has a go-to-market strategy. It's only important if breathing is important to humans, aka you should be paying attention to your go-to-market strategy if you haven't been before. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Leave us a review and share the episode. If you have any questions you would like to ask Doug or Jess about go-to-market strategy, email me at hannah@liftenablement.com or hit us up on formerly Twitter, now X, @DemandCreator. I'm going to echo Doug again on this one. Until next time, just say no to shitty RevOps.